Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy, and I am back with another fun-filled video for you. And today, as promised, I'm going to do my full-on review on this guy right here, the Spyderco Yojimbo 2 limited edition in S9DB and carbon fiber scale. So you guys may be noticing I'm wearing gloves. My hands are getting real dry again. It's the weather and my skin's starting to peel and crack. So rather than have you guys look at my disgusting hands, I thought I'd wear gloves to do this video. And I'm probably going to be wearing them for a while until my hands heal. So going to get into this full-on review of the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. I did the unboxing on this about a week and a half ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I think I did. And I promised I would go ahead and use the knife. I did use it fairly well. It looks like it's unused because I actually cleaned it all up. But, you know, I used it. I cut some boxes. I cut some rope. Just, you know, regular use so I can get the full idea of what it's like to actually use this knife and the experience of it. I found some pretty interesting things regarding this knife since the unboxing. It is, as everybody knows, I talked about this as a dual-purpose knife, and it is a dual-purpose knife. However, I will say this, after handling this knife and using it as an EDC for a week, I found it very, very interesting as far as using it. Let's start with the ergonomics on this knife. Now, the ergonomics on this knife are unlike any ergonomics that I've ever seen before. I mean, first of all, I talked about it on the in the unboxing. When you hold this knife, right, you have to keep in mind this knife was specifically made for self-defense by Michael Janisch. So one of the things I found interesting about this knife, because I was using it as a utility knife, not as a self-defense knife, and that's kind of important to point out, is that when you are, if you were using this for self-defense, there's really only one way to hold the knife, and that's in this fashion, where, you know, you're using it with what's called the Filipino grip, where your thumb is all the way up to the ramp, and you get good purchase on the knife. However, when you're using this for a utility blade, you're probably going to find yourself using the knife more like this, in the saber grip, which is what I was doing when I used it. And I'm going to have to tell you that it is incredibly comfortable just holding it either this way or this way. The problem with the ergonomics on this knife is that holding the knife in this fashion feels so good that you get addicted to holding the knife this way, even when you're using it in a utility-like fashion. But the problem is, I don't know if that's really something you want to get used to, because you still kind of have, you know, remember, you're cutting rope, you're cutting boxes, your hand's going to have to shift occasionally, and because this knife is built ergonomically this way to give you a comfortable grip, even though it's comfortable like this when you're cutting boxes, it's really not as comfortable as if you were holding it like a self-defense knife. Why am I mentioning that? Because when you're cutting boxes, one thing I notice is that I'm constantly shifting my hand, trying to find that memory comfortableness that I'm looking for when I'm actually flipping it or holding it or just whatever with the knife. And I'm not finding it unless I do it this way. So I find myself trying to find this level of comfort in the ergonomics this way when I'm using it, and I'm not actually getting the same feel. I don't know if that's coming across, if you guys can actually understand what it is I'm saying, but I'm constantly trying to find this comfort like this, and I'm not finding it when I'm cutting boxes, cutting rope, cutting tape, whatever it is that I'm cutting. And I want to find that same comfortableness, even though it's okay to hold the knife like this when you cut things. You're still kind of, you know, it's not the ideal way to cut boxes with your thumb up on the ramp like that. So you have to kind of keep that saber grip down here, but you're not getting the comfort, the strongest comfort grip as if you were holding it here. So that's one thing. Secondly, the blade on this knife, as funky as it looks, everything Michael Janisch had said about it is absolutely true. This is an excellent utility blade. I do love the fact that there is no shifting of my hand when I'm cutting down on objects, whether it's a box, whether it's a rope, whatever it is. I'm applying the same amount of pressure rather than to have to keep shifting my wrist and my elbow to keep that momentum going when I'm cutting things. Case in point, you can cut a box just straight down. Everything is just cut straight down, whether you're cutting back here in the middle or to the tip of that. That is absolutely fantastic. Secondly, piercing things with this knife, even though you're not piercing into human flesh or an animal carcass or whatever, even if it's just the box, the theory applies the same. When I pierce, whatever it is that I'm piercing in starts out at the tip, then slides up to the top for complete effectiveness when I'm piercing in there. In other words, there isn't like any stopping where you kind of have to, jab your hand in there. There's none of that. You just go straight in and straight out, and it's just as easy as 1, 2, 3. I've never felt anything like that. It's almost as if, though, this knife is kind of like a cutting machine. I mean, no matter what this thing cuts into, it just, because it's ergonomically perfect. Even though it doesn't look great, it's ergonomically perfect. The blade is perfect for cutting. They're really, as far as it being used as a utility blade, other than the fact that it's way too comfortable using it this fashion, I really have no negatives to say about it. The compression lock is absolutely fantastic every time. You can open and close this knife real easily when you're using it. Your hand actually doesn't even get tired of doing this, and that's after you cut a few things, cut a few boxes, cut a few pieces of rope, whatever it is that you're cutting. Your hand never gets tired of flipping the knife that way. So the compression lock was a really nice choice on this knife rather than, say, a frame lock or a liner lock option. That was a really smart idea. There is a couple of negatives on this. You're going to have to be careful when you're using this knife because the compression lock is not recessed. In other words, it would have been better if the compression lock were just down just a touch below the scale on this knife. I say that because every once in a while I would be using the compression lock and then opening the knife. Sometimes what would happen is when I open the knife like this part of the skin of my hand gets pinched in between this compression. I don't know if you can see that. See that little compression lock kind of opens and closes? There it is, completely opened, right? When I close it, sometimes my skin gets pinched in the middle of that. That's kind of uncomfortable. So that I wasn't crazy about. Another thing is, it does need jimping. He should have put some kind of jimping on the ramp of the blade, maybe some kind of smooth jimping. Even though there's jimping here on the knife when you're using it, it's not really very helpful as if though it were on the ramp of the blade. I think it would have been helpful to have not too much rough jimping, but some rounded jimping up on the top of the knife just to give you a better grip when you're cutting. Because I did find that sometimes my hand would slip off of it when I'm cutting. So that I wasn't, too crazy about. But still, those are just minor things. As far as the pocket clip goes, I'm not crazy about pocket clip. Here's the thing you need to know about this knife. And maybe it's only for this specific model, because I have the carbon fiber scales. I don't have the G10 scale knife, which is what this knife normally is constructed with, along with an S30 blade. I've got an S90 blade, but we're talking about ergonomics in case in point anyway. The pocket clip of this knife, while they say that it's a 4-way pocket clip, I found out that the screws, and I don't know if the screws on this knife were default or not, but I can tell you that I tried taking the pocket clip, putting it from over here and putting it over there, and I found out that the screws were so long that they actually blocked the knife from closing. So that was kind of a disappointment because I thought, you know, clearly says it's tip up, tip down, 4-way pocket clip. But when I put it either on this side or on this side of the knife, the screws were so long that once you screwed the pocket clip in, it becomes a fixed plate. So I wasn't crazy about that. So that was what it was with that, with the pocket clip. Other than that, I mean, the open construction is beautiful. The compression lock works great. It's fantastic utility blade. So to sum up this short overall full-on review of the knife, number one, the ergonomics are incredible on this knife. However, like I said, your hand will get too comfortable using it this way, and you'll find in your mind when you're cutting things that you wish you could find this level of comfort holding it like this, because this is the way we normally hold knives when we cut objects. We're not holding it with our thumb ramp all the way up there. So you're going to be looking for that in this, and you're not going to find it. So I found that part kind of frustrating. Secondly, the pinching action of the compression lock needs to be a little bit more recessed. It would have been better if he took the compression lock and pushed it down maybe just a hair, so when you're using it. Because don't forget, Michael Janisch said that this part of your hand, right, would prevent you from, which is where this part of the knife hits, supposedly prevents you from accidentally closing the knife, but he did not mention that when you're using it, because this soft part of your knife is covering the compression lock, when you close it, and then you go and open it again, when you do like the finger flick, the middle finger flick, or the thumb flick, this part of your hand is near that compression lock. You're going to get your finger pinched in between that and the scale of the knife, and it can be kind of a little bit painful and kind of frustrating. So that was a little bit frustrating there. Third, the cutting ability of this knife is the best thing of all. Doesn't matter where you're cutting the knife, whether you're cutting it back here, or at the tip of the blade, it does fantastic, consistent cutting each and every time. So, to sum up my use of this knife, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to be honest, I will give this knife a 7. I think that the pinching action probably made up for it being a 7 instead of an 8. But I will say this. When you own this knife, keep in mind you're going to be using the knife. You will get used to have that skin pinching thing happen less and less, because your mind's going to be aware of it when you're using it. So keep that in mind as well. So overall, I think maybe I was a little bit too harsh. I'll go ahead and give it an 8. I'll give it an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. I do love the open construction on this knife. In fact, it's easy to clean it out. Nothing's going to get stuck in there. One of the smoothest washer knives you're ever going to use with the compression lock. Compression lock is probably the only lock that I know of where you actually forget that the knife runs on washers and not ball bearings, because it's got that nice drop action that you want, which is caused by the compression lock. So for those of you that have never owned a compression lock knife, I highly recommend it, even for just the experience. So this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, giving you my full-on review on the Yojimbo 2. There are mostly a lot of good things on this knife. However, the negative things were so major that they actually knocked down the knife a couple of notches. So keep that in mind. It depends on how you look at it overall as a using knife. That's my theory on it. That's my take on this knife. As far as ergonomics and use and overall full-on review, I still think the knife is excellent. If he could just fix that pinching action on there, I think that would be fantastic. And I don't know, the pocket clip was kind of a downer also. Like I said, I could not screw the pocket clip on this side or this side of the knife and still be able to close the knife like I wanted to. So, but I'm sure that can be remedied if you got yourself some shorter screws. So keep that in mind. Like I said, I don't know if the screws that came on this knife were by default, because if you look in the camera there, you can see that the screws are really long. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see that the screws are, there you go, I'm holding it at an angle. You can see that the screws are kind of long. They're actually sticking out of the carbon fiber scale. So that much of the screws is actually what's preventing the knife from opening and closing when you're switching over the pocket clip to the to this upper part, the tip up part of the knife. That's what's causing that to happen, where you won't be able to close it. It permanently becomes like a fixed blade. So, but that could probably be seen as a positive thing. You want a fixed blade? Fine. Take the pocket clip, put it over here. You got yourself a fixed blade. You'll just have to go buy yourself a sheath. So this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, giving you my full-on review on the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. CPM S90B and carbon fiber scales. This review will also work for the G10 version of the knife in S30B, since I was only talking specifically about the cutting and the ergonomics of the knife. That's exactly the same. So there you have it, the Yojimbo 2 full-on review. This is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, probably the shortest video I've ever done. Please comment on my channel. I want to hear what you guys think. Anybody out there that owns Yojimbo 2, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I think the ergonomics are just fantastic with the, the fact that there's a groove assigned to every part of the knife, every part of your finger. I mean, you're never going to find that on any other knife other than this, other than the Yojimbo 2. That's what makes this knife so unique. Yeah, so it is helpful. Which, case in point, that's probably why a lot of knives don't have the finger grooves. A lot of them just have the straight, like the straight handle for you to grab, because you can put your fingers anywhere and find the comfort level that way. Whereas on the Yojimbo 2, your comfort level is fixed. So it depends on how you look at it. Do you want a fixed comfort grip, or do you want one where you can find it yourself? Sorry to blab on there. So this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off on my full-on review on the Spyderco Yojimbo 2 in S90B steel and all carbon fiber scales. Please comment on my channel. I welcome them all. I want to thank everybody that has subscribed to my channel. I got 234 subscribers. Yes! I hope to get to 1,000, so one day I'll get a chance to do live videos. And while I'm getting there, hopefully my videos are getting better. Once again, this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off with the Yojimbo 2. All you guys out there, stay safe. Remember, we're still in a pandemic. The president finally got it, so I guess we're going to find out what happens in the next week or two. The man is 74 years old. Who knows if he'll be able to survive it. Myself, I am 53. I'm probably getting there myself. Who knows if I would even survive it if I got it. So, wear a mask, stay safe, and vote. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great and fantastic weekend.